Hey, welcome to Monday. So let me see. What did I accomplish since the last stream? Well, the last time we were streaming, we noticed that OCR was taking over 2 minutes to run on the VR headset. Locally, it was taking like 3 to 5 seconds, but on the headset, it was taking over 2 minutes. So I went deep on that a little bit. Changing some settings, I got it down to like 45 seconds. So clearly, like OpenCV wasn't using all the resources available to it. So some settings changes solved that, and then did some other optimizations and improvements and things, and actually got it down to 8 seconds. And I think I could get it below 5 seconds, but 8 seconds is enough for what I'm doing right now. If we're going to be testing on the headset, it's fine if it takes 10 seconds to return. 2 minutes is not tolerable. And then I turned on hand tracking. So I got hand tracking working again. So we don't need the controllers anymore. But then as part of that, I tried to upgrade Godot to the latest version and upgrade my libraries, my subdependencies, because I wanted to do that before starting on the next phase of work. And I got a weird error related to this camera feed extension, which has always been kind of weird because this is that plugin that I need to use for now, because even though Godot supports pass-through camera, it doesn't really. So they improved their Android camera support, but they didn't actually, I guess maybe they're just not handling. Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on why I still need this extension. But basically in main, when we go to assign the feed, this feed, by the way, and this is, I think, where some of the weirdness comes from. It's a camera feed, but we're assigning it to camera feed extension, which is the plugin. And something about that it doesn't like, and if I try to change that, the camera just either doesn't work, or in any case, all that means is I can't upgrade to the latest version of Godot yet. So I kind of rolled back, and which means I got to re-enable hand tracking. Hey, what's up, Minecraft man? So, I think I rolled that back. Hopefully I don't need the latest version of Godot for what I'm doing. I think I should be okay with that. So, what does that mean we're working on today? So this, I'm going to mothball and not do it for now. I need to switch to hand tracking instead of controller, and then start the app in pass-through mode. I think those are the two things I want to switch to now. So instead of always starting in like the environment like we had before, since we've removed that environment, I think it makes more sense to, when you start the app, you're in pass-through mode, and you probably get a little pop-up message saying to go grab a book. Hold on, my audio is not working. Why is my audio not working? I think I know why. There we go. Yeah, so it would start in pass-through mode with a little pop-up message saying to go grab a book and open it. And then once we succeed at OCRing a page, then take you into the immersive 3D environment. And then we don't need pass-through from then on out. It's just sort of that intro piece. The idea of reading a book like that in VR is cool. Yeah, so the idea being, and I do have the OCR piece working. Actually, let me get my demo set up. I need to do that anyway. All right, let's cast. Okay, there's casting. And let's send that out and get my other stuff set up. Yeah, so the idea being that we're going to OCR the text using the front cameras on the headset. And then what you will see is like that text is going to get pulled into a 3D environment. So you can change the font size, you can change the font itself, make it a super readable type thing for the viewer, but then also match the soundscape and match the ambiance to the mood of the text. So that way you can stay lost in the story. If this is doing its job correctly, it's not distracting you. The goal is not to create a movie scene or to have you spend a lot of time looking around. The goal is so that you can stay lost in the story as you're reading it. Okay, here we go. And then do permissions. And then let's take a look. So if I grab book, so I got a little bit of a debug panel going on here. Just different tools to help me work on this. So I'm going to trigger OCR. That's like the still that it's going off of. And it should only take a couple seconds before we get the result back. Now it's not OCRing both pages or all the pages, just like the first two lines. And the OCR quality is bad right now. I know why. I can improve that. I'm also experimenting with like different fonts, different other things. So that's kind of what's working at the moment. I did have some beautiful immersive environment stuff going on, but that's very taxing on the Quest 3. So I ripped it all out. So I think I'm going to start, once I get this next phase of things working, I think I'm going to start with something a little bit more ethereal, a little bit more just like again, the goal is to help you with the mood and the feeling that you have with what you're reading. And let your own imagination take over from there and not try to replicate or replace your imagination. So, okay, the first thing I want to do, well, yeah, so those are the two things we're working on today. Where is my task? Okay, so we are going to hand tracking and pass through. In Godot. So that's what we're working on today. Require hand tracking, and then able to toggle pass through. And then improve VR text rendering, that got done. Choose new font, that got done. So the text, at least of what we're displaying, is going to be fairly readable. All right, so run that, and then let's see. So I think kill this for the moment. And let me kill that. So project settings, actually, you know what? I think it's, oh, that was why. Yeah, I got like a bunch of new features available. Okay. Yeah, the reason I wanted to upgrade was because there's a bunch of new features available with meta. Okay, let's assume I don't need those for the moment because upgrading is causing a problem. So what are our XR settings? So we got foveated rendering, that's fine. Hand tracking. Hand tracking controller data source. I think that means so the controller acts as if it's hand tracking. In support for a controller inferred data source. Yeah, so they have a controller in their hand. Yeah, sure, why not? And then this one, hand tracking data based on the actual finger positions of the user. All right, I'll bite. Hand interaction profile. All right, fine, why not? So meta pass through. Oh, that's right, there's these. So aim, I think, is support for like the user doing like certain types of gestures, but there's only like one or two they support. Hand tracking mesh Fine. Let me turn these on for the moment. I think I actually want to turn off 2 of them. The capsules I actually... Alright, actually, let's do the opposite. Let's just turn on that one and see if it does what we need. If not, then we'll experiment from there. Alright, let's save and reload. And then I think I need to change my export settings. So we've enabled meta. What have we got here? Don't think I need any of this, because this is all like Android kind of settings. I mean, we needed a camera, obviously, but here we go. Pass-through is required. Hand tracking, I'm going to make that required. And we'll do high. Use overlay keyboard. Experimental features, which I think is related to the keyboard right now only. Fine, I'll do an export, even though it doesn't really matter. And this should work pretty quickly. It didn't take me long before to get it working. You're playing VR. Are you watching this in VR? Are you on like big screen or something? Yeah. Guess you could do that. Well, no, I think, yeah. Most headsets have like native YouTube, right? Support. All right, now it might just work. Let's see. Oh yeah. And let me just leave it up, the casting. Oh darn. That's gonna mess up the permissions. Yeah. There's a whole weird permissions bug that I gotta deal with. Well, okay, while I'm here. Oh yeah, see, I don't even have proper hand tracking even working, so I can't even use my hands to close the app. Fine, I'll uninstall. Let me do a couple things here. Let's do that. And then let's try that again. VR Bond Lab. I'm not familiar with that. I think I'm gonna have to like completely redo a lot of this built-in stuff in the scene. Like I'm gonna have to like ditch the hands, maybe. Well, the pickable book, I'm gonna have to throw that away because that's not gonna be relevant anymore. Yeah, there's a number of things I gotta do. Really? It's gonna do that again? Seriously? That should not be happening. Hold on. One more time. This time I'm gonna hit it quickly. Yeah, there's just some weird bug right now with the cameras where if you launch the app the first time, the cameras won't work. So then you can kill the app and relaunch it, and then it'll work because of the permission, something related to the permissions. But that doesn't work if I want to be in debug. So if I want to debug in the editor, I'll lose connection to the editor if I do that. So that means I gotta like send the permissions early, and then it should just work. See, now it might actually work. It's so annoying. Well, okay, this is working. Hold on. The hands are like kind of broken. Like they don't, I can do this, but if I put my palms up, okay, if I do that and I do quit and then relaunch it. Okay, so now it works, but like yeah, it kind of works. I got some issues to deal with. Okay, so the hands are kind of glitchy for some reason. Let me figure that out. I do think one thing that I had figured out from before. If I do debug processing stopped. That's annoying. All right, that's fine. We'll hit save there. And then what's going on? All right, maybe I try just doing like a brand new XR tutorial, somewhat from scratch a little bit, to like set it up the way. Yeah, let's take a look. Godot Passthrough. What are the current docs saying? Default blend mode you want. Yeah, while I'm here, let me kill a bunch of these tabs that I was running into issues with. Yeah, let me just close all this. All right, that's fine. So let's see. You can configure the default blend mode. For pass-through devices, OpenXR requires additional settings to be configured. These settings are platform dependent and provided through the OpenXR vendor plugin. For example, wait, but are those are export settings? Probably not, right? No, they are. Boundary mode. Yeah, so I have those turned on. If I go to XR in here, interesting. Input thresholds, script threshold. Okay. Let me turn on these other hand tracking settings, just in case I need them. On the off chance that maybe that's the reason why things weren't working. All right, and then sure, okay. Gotcha. So here, this is what I was looking for. So switch to AR, switch to VR. We can use the following code base. Shadow to opacity is a render mode. Okay. Okay, so I was looking for this code. This is code that I was interested in from before. Let's go to main and then, well, I guess scripts, right? Main GD. Let's put this here. So that's going to be an array. What's an array of string? I don't know if that's even true. Well, maybe an integer, an array of ints. I mean, it seems happy with that. Okay. I wonder if this would work. Just like straight up, do I have to do anything? Because I'm already set up pretty well in VR mode, so. World environment, so what are these? Interesting that it's not yelling. Oh, that's right, because I did pull them in. Okay, so let's give it a try. So let's do, what do we got? Our detector, right? So on body enter, we emit signal. Was it debug HUD has that, right? So Do I do anything with this? I thought, this doesn't seem like it's called, right? What are we doing in main? So we set up our ready. And then I always have trouble chasing down signals. See, I don't think this is wired up anywhere. Oh, this is, well, this is still used, right? Okay, so it is called. But this, okay, this signal's wired. I prefer wiring up signals in ready, because at least then I've got it in code, whereas I feel like it's so hard to know. Interesting that I have a on toggle. Yeah, I just find like it's so hard to know where things are at. Okay, so for this, yeah, we just grab a new image. Honestly, we don't need to do any of this. I don't know why we're even grabbing an image, because we're not doing anything with it. Oh, I guess we are. We're setting it on the HUD, just so that we can visually see things. All right, my brain's a little fogged here on this Monday morning. Let me think. Okay, so what I can do is, this should probably, that's game state. Right, this is up in main, this is not in game state. Okay, so this gets the interface, and then we change the viewport. I wonder if I can, just for the moment, put this in game state. So it's going to complain about that, and then I can go grab these two. It might not like this. All right, so I could do something like, let's try this. Func toggle pass through. Just returns a void. And we'll do var is VR bool. Set that to true. So then I should be able to do if is VR, just call that. And then we'll just do an else. And then I should be able to do just assuming this works here on game state and I don't have to have it in main, I should be able to just from here do game state dot toggle pass through. And so that'll happen on button click. I think casting is causing the problem, part of the problem. Let me try building and deploying first, and then I'll turn on pass-through. Or not pass-through, then I'll turn on casting. So what I'll do is I'll do permissions and then I'll cast. It'll be annoying if I have to do that extra step now. I think because I was doing the controllers before, I would get that prompt of, hey, you need to turn on the controllers. But now I'm not getting that anymore, so now maybe that's the problem. So I got an error anyway. Invalid access to key or property on base object of type null instance. So yeah, it's like, what is world environment? I don't have a thing called world environment. So that's just not going to go well. So what is world environment? They didn't specify this here. So you will need to use vendors plugin v3. Yep, I have that. Set the environment blend mode. Well, if I look at main, because I am calling some of this stuff. So what is main doing on initialization? So it says get viewport, use XR. Yeah, so it's setting get viewport to a onReady variable, which I guess is fine. But then the environment. Yeah, what is this environment thing? I guess for me, all I'm doing is, I guess environment is the entire scene. So if I go to main, I wouldn't be surprised if this is main. If this is just saying, see, I don't know. Default environment property for the entire scene. Okay, so maybe that is hard-coded. All right, so I'm going to go back to saying this has to happen on main. Let's just verify that it kind of works on main first before I try implementing the cleaner solution that involves game state triggering it. So one hacky easy way to do this is I can just do fine. Let's just do pass just leave that like that for now. And then we have this as VR Boolean, that's fine. Okay, so one way I can do this is on ready. Didn't I have a timer before? Right, call delayed. So I could do something like right here at the very end of ready. Actually, we'll bring this over. All right, fine. Undo what I did. Hacky to do all this inline, but that's fine. And then what we'll do is we'll do it 10 seconds. After this runs, so it's going to do its toggle, it'll call itself again every 10 seconds. That should work. Wondering what time is it for me. I'm on US East Coast. So UTC -4. I guess that's like 10:43 a.m. All right, there's the permissions, and let's cast. Let's see. Let me drag that over. It still doesn't like environment. Okay, so environment must be a named thing. It doesn't know what this world environment thing is. So these docs are incomplete. One little thing I can do. I can go to GitHub. Well, sorry. Let's go to search, and I am going to search for and we're going to do code. Do VR, less likely to have a collision. 40, there we go. So one would be GitHub's docs, and this is the same pass-through stuff. But see, this is world environment, and that is not a thing. Okay, so the other thing would be someone's created like an audio switcher, self-sync switcher. So that's switch to sync switcher, switch to VR. Stream switcher, ugh. A lot of class inheritance, not my favorite. Here we go. Okay, now this is a harder to implement thing. This is another audio switcher. So you're both doing like an... Oh, .pi. Oh, okay, yeah. Here we go, GD script. That's what I want. So this might have a world environment. There's environment. So you just brought this in. You copy pasted it in as was. Do you have a world environment? No. Okay, so you have a node named world environment. This is what I'm looking for. But it's probably not your root node, right? Parent dot. So it's parent is itself, right? So if I do a cat main.tscn, so I have my main node. Type world environment. Okay. So does that mean you need a world environment node? I remember seeing, I thought there were more docs on this. So there's this VR starter tutorial. I remember this. This is an old tutorial though. I wonder if there's a newer version. Page not found. Did they move it? Was it VR starter tutorial? Don't tell me it's all... GitHub search is pretty terrible. Okay, what if we do... See, world environment's not even here. Toggle VR and editor. Okay, so what is a world environment? Let me just take a look at that real quick. Like if I add a node here, well, what are we doing with it? Background mode. Like, can I do something like $main? What if we're like self dot? No, because like it doesn't have a. This is just a node. So if I add that, it has an environment. And that's where we're going to set the properties on it of its background mode to be whatever it's going to be. This is annoying. Okay. So this presumes you're using a world environment. Yeah, let's delete that. Does this tutorial mention like, hey, you should do this other tutorial first? Maybe? Fine, let's look at like setting up. Yep, turn on some things. And then setting up the XR scene. This is on stable, right? Cool. XR origin and camera. Warning icons. I think I have this exact same code. Let's see here. Everything will work, but you will be in a dark world. So to finish off our starting point, add a directional light and a world environment node to your scene. Okay, so I had a world environment before, and I think I ripped it out when I brought in the... kill that. When I brought in the Terrain 3D and Sky 3D, which I have since removed. Well, I have a directional light. That's why I can actually see some things. So that's fine. Okay, fine, whatever. Let's do it. Let's go to 3D mode, see what we see. Let's add world environment. Now it's going to complain because oh, okay. Camera attributes practical, physical. It stopped complaining. Fine, let's do practical. Sure, let me initialize all of them. I think it doesn't matter because what do we end up doing then, right? We BG Sky. All right, that's fine. This all now, so it's expecting a thing called world environment that is a child of ourselves. Fine, that's what you needed to do. So that does seem to fix things, though, by the way. Not casting all the time. That bug is really annoying. That camera bug. So I'm going to have to turn on and turn off casting all the time. Okay, so now in theory, every 10 seconds, we would switch. It switched. Ooh. Trying to assign an array of type array. So it just didn't like that. Okay. Is that giving me another error? No. Okay, what's going on here? Expected type. Array of type array. XR interface. It's really, really annoying. Should have paid closer attention to that error then. Here. It's a constant. Modes. Return an array of supported environment blend modes. See that. So these are enums. They're not integers, but they are. Can I do of type enum? Ah, that's so annoying. What if I just do variant? I don't want to do variant, but maybe that's what I need to do. In theory, variant would just like let anything through, but then I lose type checking and I lose maybe some of the optimizations. Apparently, Godot runs faster if you use typing, which on a VR headset, which is an Android phone, I'll take anything I can get. So that's why I'm doing it. Normally, I'm not the biggest fan of type hinting. I mean, it's useful when you're new to something, but once you know what the code looks like, I don't find it very useful. Autocomplete can sometimes be useful, but... All right, let's see what this does now. So we switched in. Hey, there we go. Nice, nice. So every 10 seconds, we should just toggle between the two, unless we get an error. It stopped toggling. Huh. All right, well, that's fine. Now, for the moment, I'm going to try to trigger it based on a button press. Let's get that back. So that was here, right? I guess, so this is all preempted on this being... I don't want to leave this. I guess it's fine. If I'd rather it be in main. So trying to remember again how I do signals. So I could create a signal and then right. So that can be, I can create the signal there. Fine. So we'll do signal toggle pass through. Which conflicts in name. Main's already got the management here for it. Right? So I would do something like that. And I'm going to get rid of the call delayed. And get rid of our call delayed here. And what I will do this is scanner service, start scanning. Let me put it here. So we have our game state singleton dot toggle pass through is not. Let me kill this. Dot toggle pass through dot connect. Do toggle pass through. And it's going to complain that that's not a thing, and that's because I need to make it private or imply that it's private. So now the management of whether or not we're on pass through is going to happen all here in main. Let me hide that, hide those functions. So now we've connected up the signal. So then here in game state, where did I have that? Oh, right, on OC, no, was it? No, it was detector, debug HUD. There we go. So now I can't trigger that directly. Can I do that? That feels kind of wrong to like just trigger it like that. All right, so now that should happen every time I press the button. By the way, this feels like it needs to be a little lower, maybe a little over. And I'll probably hide it too. Okay, so we're starting here. My hands are still kind of weird. So that toggled. Really, that should have been like a book trigger too. We're not going to be able to OCR properly. Okay, so it OCR'd something. Let's see here. Interesting that it's not toggling properly. Why is that not toggling correctly? That's fun. What are my logs on that? Let's get some better logging. So, game state dot log toggling pass through current dot log, and then we'll do switching from VR to AR. I feel like there was something about blend modes, but that I'd seen before, but I just can't quite remember. Yeah, so hopefully the logs will shed some light on why it's getting stuck. All right, so maybe we can see something in the logs now. So that triggered that. Just so weird to have like the book here and then. Okay, so now if I trigger it again, we got OCR results, right? Can I see in the logs? Yeah, we're done. So now it's in a waiting state again. So if I trigger it again, we didn't change states. Oh, I know why we didn't change states. Because I never changed the state. It is a fun Monday, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, this is gonna work. That's so dumb. Is VR equals true? Fine, I already know it's gonna work. That was dumb. That was a dumb lesson to learn. Again, I contend I'm off my game this morning. So let's run this just to confirm it works. And then I shouldn't have to care about it again. I think then we will move on to... Yeah, we need to improve hand tracking is really what we need to do. Also, I needed to start in AR mode. So we're starting in VR mode. Yes, that book's gonna wobble and go flying off the handle. There we go. So that toggled while we're OCRing. Okay, we got results back. Easy. Very easy. Okay. So that's working solidly now. I can kind of blindly trust it now. Great. Just a little bit of stupidity on my part. So the next thing would be, oh, a couple things. Let me bring this down and maybe a little forward. I don't know. And let me hide it. So that button should work a little better now, maybe. I'll debug that if I have to. And then here, yeah, I don't know what's going on with this thing. I guess maybe, I wonder actually. So there was a project settings for XR of like whether where the origin should be, maybe. Reference space. Local. What happens if I run on that? And while I'm at it, I'll fix that button permanently. Because it is just a little bit out of the way, where before when I was reaching with the controller, it was fine. But now that I'm reaching with my hand, if my hand leaves the camera, it loses tracking and then it doesn't trigger. So again, it's just a debugging thing that I need for now. But I need to be able to just trigger that whenever I want. And not accidentally trigger it. All right, there's the permissions, and we'll cast. There we go. That's actually pretty easy. There's our results. Let's try it again. Not easy. What is going on here with this thing? Where's my debug HUD? Let's make that visible. Yeah, so it should be right above my head. Here, let me drag this over so I can see it change while I do it. You know, I guess it's probably fine. What if I do that? Does it? Okay. What if I drag it a little further away? If I go further with it? Okay, no, still too close. Because I think these displays are just out of hand reach, right? So maybe instead of trying to put my hand above my head to trigger this, I can just go straight out. Okay, so I have to like almost fully extend my hand, but not quite. Okay, that's pretty easy. I don't think I would accidentally trigger it, but just in case, I think I can go up a little bit with it. Let's try that. So now I'm just going up. Okay, that's a little bit harder actually, because the angle. Okay, good. So a book would be here, and then I would trigger up there. All right. And then if I end up accidentally triggering it, let's hide it. If I end up accidentally triggering it, then I'll just mess with that later, mess with its settings. Let us change main to enable this by default. So we have the toggle, but like what exactly is it doing? Notice how I am already getting the interface here. We're checking if it's initialized. This is saying primary interface. All right, I don't want to mess with this just yet. Use XR true. And then we do permissions. So it's starting in kind of VR, which is what I want. We're going to do permissions in VR. Initializing the pass-through feed. Maybe I just want to do is VR false. This might not be the smartest way to do this. But we'll just say, look, we're going to start in AR mode. Oh yeah, I didn't even notice the local space thing. Did that fix this weird issue with this thing moving? And by weird issue, I mean something that I've read about that I know is a thing where like your start space is not where you put things because the headset kind of determines where the user's placed, and that may or may not be where you set the origin to? Question mark? But if I change that to local space, I wonder if that fixes something. Ah, didn't find the cameras. Okay. But it did start in AR mode. Yeah, I think I basically just need the headset to go to sleep so that it's in sleep mode when I request the permissions, because the app won't continue on until I awaken from sleeping. So now I can do casting. What? Why is it doing this? I just wait. Did Godot crash? Like, what's going on? Reports the problem. I don't want you to report the problem to Microsoft. It's none of Microsoft's business. Not like they're going to do anything anyway. Their broken operating system. Well, that was fun. All right. Let's try it again. Take it from the top. This is going to be a full rebuild now, so it's going to take a little longer. Okay, I did the permissions. Nothing else is showing up in the logs, so maybe I'm okay now. Okay, so it started in AR mode. That's good. But yeah, where is my table? The fudge. So we start in local mode and we lose. Here, let me just trigger and flip over. Now is it anywhere? Nope. Oh. Okay. Is that because I'm seated? No. Oh, that's funny. That just triggered the button. Okay. That's so weird. Okay. You're a hot mess. You know what you are? You're a hot mess. Where's the XR settings again? Local floor? Fine, we'll give that a shot. Now, the controllers are being weird. I'm gonna have to figure out how that is. So, needs at least an XR origin and XR camera 3D, which I have. And then those are controllers, right? Which is tracking left hand. Default aim grip skeleton. Show when tracked. Sure, let's do that. And then this has children underneath it, right? Blend tree. Okay. The warning icon are expected and should go away after you configure the controllers. Select the left hand and set it up. Right now, all these nodes are on the floor. They will be positioned correctly in runtime. To help during development, it can be helpful to move the camera upward. So its Y is set to 1.7 and move the controller nodes to, yep. Fine interface. I wonder if maybe that's what I was accidentally doing before, was limiting myself to 60 FPS. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so that worked, adding a world environment. Hold on, was this setting up the XR scene? Yeah. Now I shouldn't need to worry about deploying. I've already got that working. Gradle, install the vendor's plugin. Yeah, I've got all that working. A better XR start script. Signals for our script, 3 new signals, is emitted when the player takes off the headset. Focus gained. Pose recentered. Okay. XR interface. Holds the XR interface. So it's saying, so this is an XR interface as opposed to an OpenXR interface. What if I do that? Oh. Am I not... I'm reusing it? That's a little confusing. Right. Probably shouldn't be doing that then. I'm surprised it didn't yell at me for like variable confusion. This, why are we not doing... Oh, but we don't have... Gotcha. So I could probably do this. Hold on. Let's do that. We'll call it XR modes. We'll take this and we'll bring it up here. And now we can do we'll just initialize XR modes once for our interface. Also, we shouldn't need this at all because we're already declaring it, right? So now this code's a lot simpler. I don't love the whole Boolean because I'm not going to use it. It's like, what's the point? Let me just return. Let me just return. Yeah, see, this is where to, if not, return. You can then flatten this. Shift tab. So that way we're just doing a short circuit. Oops. So the short circuit just lets us end early. We don't have to care about the extra complexity of having like middle returns that like, you know, like now the logic's a lot flatter. Now we're just saying like, hey, look, if we don't have an interface, I don't know why we wouldn't, return early. Otherwise, go do all the things. Simpler code. You know, I could see returning Boolean, but like, what do I care? I'll worry about that later. Now the code's a lot simpler. We're not redeclaring variables. We're not... Yeah. That's it. This one's interesting. So we're saying if we have the mode available, set it. Okay. I guess that's fine. It's almost like, why would we... Like, if we don't have it, does that completely mess things up? Oh yeah, we don't need this anymore either. All right, now those are simpler. Close those up, and I'll test that. Our updated ready function. Yeah. VP, Just call it viewport. Why the abbreviation? Disable vsync. VRS? What is VRS? Oh, is that foveated rendering? And then this is all the events. Session began. Okay, I may want to look at this because then I could intelligently turn things on. Whereas right now, I'm like immediately doing all this stuff. Okay. Let me take this. So that is right after we do vsync and elif get setting foveation level but I already have it set to high. So you're going to give a code warning to me as a developer that I should already be doing. All right, so we already have our viewport here already. So I should be able to do viewport. Yeah, see, I was mixing up some code here. There. So on session begin, get refresh rate. Okay, this is nice. I may keep this up and go and come back here because this is some useful info here. New rate, current refresh rate. Get available display refresh rates. Get the maximum refresh rate. Okay. Now match our physics rate. We could pause and close. Gotcha. So this is just to pause and unpause, so they can take the headset off and we pause things. Maybe what I'll do, instead of keeping this up and then forgetting about it and never doing it again, I'm going to add a to-do here. What do we call this? This is sort of like what is this? Sort of like UX headset quality of life improvements. And we'll just say that these are things that will improve app stability or UX for the user that aren't directly related to the app itself, but more around app start, stop, etc. So I can do this here. Say, so we can like so we can pause, resume VR session based on if the user took the headset off or not. Just leave that out there as a comment. So I can then always come back to that later and I'll know, oh right, there's a bunch of little things like this we should do. Okay. So this I just implemented. The default blend mode you want to use. Godot will select this blend mode at startup if available. Ah, okay. So that's project settings, OpenXR, right? Opaque. Alpha. Now, in theory, I don't need to do this. Let me do a test now. It's been a minute. I made a bunch of changes. If I broke something, I'd rather know now. Yeah, so in theory, that means we will start in pass-through mode by starting with alpha. Which is kind of vague terminology for that. Unless you know what alpha means. Which, like, alpha meaning like alpha channel on an image, like a PNG. That's like transparency. So if we start with alpha, I think that means it'll start in transparent mode. I don't know. That may also just like uglify things. I don't know why it would work without those other settings also set. I guess I could default those other settings to where they need to be. Yeah, see how it like kind of worked? And that's because, so it did kind of work. So in AR mode, we go to our environment and we set our environment background color. Sorry, background mode to clear color. What is BG mode 1? Clear color. Okay, that's fine. Background color. So we have background mode. The color displayed for clear areas of the scene, only effective when using the BG color background mode. Okay. Ambient light source. Specific to specify color for ambient light sources provided. I wish this naming convention would align. Specify a specific color for ambient light source. Got you. Color. Ah, okay. I would argue then this should come first, but I guess this means... What is color here? RGBA. I think all zeros would be black then, right? This should be 0. RGBA is 0. Yeah. There we go. So now we've set it to clear. Did that affect anything live? We still have some fuzziness, right? Because it's already initialized. I don't think this value is affected anymore. This is on local. On remote, I'd have to, okay, to debug this properly, I have to come in here, and then I have to go to environment. Here we go. So if I switch back, no, it says it's got the same settings. But if I like, see, that's perfectly clear. So then what are my remote settings now? So if I'm on local and I go to remote, it's saying clear color, transparent color. What am I missing then? Is it just the interface blend mode? Maybe viewport transparent? But I did project settings, blend mode alpha. So maybe viewport transparent BG is true. Maybe that's all. Maybe that's the only thing I'm missing. Where's our viewport? Viewport's not a node or anything. It's just... It is a node. Closest viewport ancestor. So we're saying viewport dot transparent BG. All right, so worst case, I just have to maybe do that on initialize. This has been kind of messed up here. By the way, hold on. Hold on. Here we go. Okay, so now it's off to the left of me. Maybe that actually fixed things. Let me kill this. Just do like a fresh slate. If I do 3D here, maybe it actually worked. Fine, let's drag them over. Let's do that. Also, is that like, that doesn't look flat to me. It should be flat. Fine, let's do that, and let's run it again. I'm sure I could probably find viewport default settings somewhere and set it, but at least now I don't have to like call all that logic. I can just initialize the viewport. And be done with it that way. I mean, I'm moving slower than I would like, but I'm also learning a lot, and I'd rather learn these things now because I'm going to need some of these superpowers later. If I just try to power through things, then later I'll be stuck in a gutter where something won't work and I won't know why it's not working. Yeah, see, what are you doing? Maybe I knocked it and it moved and it stayed awake. Maybe that was the issue. Nah, see, it already went in again. Why is it doing that? So very interesting. Really makes it hard to debug if it's doing that. It would be nice if Godot offered like a post-deploy script that would run on just for debugging. That runs like after it installs the device. And then I could just run a command like this to say, hey, like auto grant permissions. Okay, now it's good. So annoying. Like I already know, I can already tell, like I've got a pretty good beat on knowing when it's going to break on me. Okay, so now it should start in AR mode, and look, it's actually good, decent AR mode. Pick up the book. Hands are kind of broken, but I'll figure that out. And there we go. Now we've switched, and hey, look, based on local floor, that's actually where I expect it to be. I'll probably delete that soon, so I'm gonna leave it over there. And this should be done, right? Why is it not done? How long did that take? That's only supposed to be a few seconds. Oh, low quality frame. This is why. Got bad frame alignment. And it failed twice. Which should mean we should short circuit, I would think. All right, I'll have to work on that. Yeah. Because we should just not even bother if we can't get frame alignment. And then OCR took less than 2 seconds. Oh yeah, like a second and a half. Nice. That's good. Well, actually, it finished quickly because it probably struggled. Yeah, okay. So that all worked. You know what? Let's check mark this. Adjust my seat, switch into water from coffee. Let's do a checkpoint. So, drag that out, get checkout -B, and we will do pass through with hand tracking. And we'll do a, it's still not done yet. I'm not ready to merge this as a change, but git add star.gd, git add export presets, git add star.tscn, and then we'll do project. Okay. We'll just call it pass-through with hand tracking. That's what this PR is going to be. It's fine mixing these two together. Normally, small PRs merged often, but it's such a small thing, these two, and they're so tightly coupled anyway. I mean, not really, but that, yeah, they kind of belong together anyway. All right, so the hands are a little jank. Let me maybe rebuild them and see where we get. And if I can get that there, then we're done. We're done with that. The other thing would be... Okay, so let's clean this up a little bit. During our initial setup, we can now do that. And we'll do this to say start in AR mode. Well, we're starting in AR mode. So we will always start in AR mode. So I can clean that up. That makes sense to have them together. This, I don't really know what this does, but it's in the docs, so I'll keep it for now. I don't need, of course we're disabling vsync. Change our main viewport output to the head-mounted display. Yeah, okay, fine. Again, I hate code comments that are self-explanatory. Like, say something more interesting about this than just we're enabling VRS mode. Like, this is useful because it's telling me why we're doing this is because we have to start in AR mode. For whatever reason, it's just not transparent. I'm sure there's a default viewport setting. I'm not going to worry about it. All right, so there's that. Let me code review myself real quick just to see if there's anything ugly I saw. Right, so we have our debug HUD toggling pass-through. So we're not going to toggle pass-through though. We are going to if we successfully get results. See, I'm just trying to think of. Okay, for there could be edge case bugs to this, but let me just emit a different signal here. So instead of toggle pass through, we don't really care about that. What we do is we'll call this initialize environment. Init environment. Is that it? Basically what I want to say is, like, let's bring the VR environment in. And we may turn that VR environment on or off, but, like, it's not a toggle. We're just going to do this. Well, I guess, what are we calling it? Fine, I guess this makes sense, right? To call it switch to VR. Let's do that. But we're not going to do it on the detector anymore. What we're going to do is on OCR Manager. Let me close these. Yeah, and I did a bunch of things around I did a bunch of experiments last week as well that didn't quite pan out. Created a bunch of new created a bunch of new tasks for myself on the task board around things that need improving. But yeah, I mean, now we're at a point where I know OCR can be above 90%. That's not a problem. Now I need it to be above 95%. We're not going to do that just yet. And then processing time under 5 seconds. So this is good. This is a good place to be in. I know I can get above 90% in less than 10 seconds. So I'm shelving it for now, but the next thing would be, like a future thing would be, let's improve the accuracy, which will probably make speed worse. But once we get the accuracy like really feeling good, then let's see if we can make it faster. All right, so there's a little distraction there. So we have on text scanned, right? With our results. Really, that is a scanner service.connect. Okay, so what I could do here is I was triggering this signal, switch to VR. And in main, I was listening to that signal to call toggle pass-through. Really what I want to do is we're going to do make that private, switch to VR. And now I don't toggle pass-through anymore. We don't care about that. Game state doesn't even need a signal. Doesn't care anymore. And then the debug HUD isn't going to emit anything. So now what we're doing is yeah, that feels right. So now you'll be in AR mode. But the second we successfully OCR something, that's when we'll send you into VR mode. This toggle, I'll keep this here for now, but I'm probably not going to need it. But then what I'll do is, under certain situations, like if you close the book and place it in front of you, maybe I'll auto switch you to AR, right? So for now, not going to worry too much about that. But what this means is when the scanner service says that we got some text, we'll switch to VR mode. So basically, as we OCR, that's when we'll toggle you in. Okay, so that's cleaned up. HUD, some of these configs. Oh, I changed these configs, but I don't think they had any effect. That signal's gone. Main got a bunch of new toys. Already cleaned up some of this anyway. World environment. Right. Good. So now that's good. Now we just need to fix the controllers. Here, let me push that up down. So we'll call it cleanup. Well, and cleanup. So we'll do VR on OCR success. I'm not going to test that. I know it's going to work, which is famous last words. All right, let's look at the hands. All right, so I already did all this. That's all well and good. The shadow to opacity, I've gone through this before. I never really understood what it meant. But I'm going to say I don't care right now. Look at for your XR game journey. Advanced topics. XR demos. XR hand tracking toolkit. We have a small introduction to XR tools. All right. Advanced topics. Set of settings that are applied to OpenXR. Form factor. Local. Yeah. Stage. Similar to local space, it is thus not guaranteed the player will be standing on the origin point. Yeah, I know. There's still maybe something here I gotta figure out, but I'll worry about that later. Blend modes, yep, foveated level. When enabled, the foveation level, okay, submit depth buffer. Startup alert extensions. Hand tracking, which might be already something I was looking at. May use the exact position of fingers, usually what a headset camera sees. Two new hand tracking poses. Pinch pose. This also allows 3 more gesture-based inputs. Pinch. Pinches their thumb and index finger together. Aim, activation. Yeah, okay, so hand interaction profile. I don't think I want that. Yeah. And I might as well do a test now. So I think what that means is when I do palms up, that's where I'll get those icons to like recenter and things like that. I don't think I want that. I think I might be wrong. I mean, I guess with the Quest 3, I might have to implement that in some way for the user to be able to close things. But if their palms are up, that means they're holding a book, and then I want those icons out of the way. So that might be a problem for what I'm making. We'll see if we run into that problem. All right, I am probably going to stop soon. But let me see if I can get a little further. The next goal would be, if I get this working really well, the hand tracking, the next thing's going to be, can I get the hand position? I guess two things. Like, I want to be able to put a book in their hands at all times. In a way. Like, yeah, I want to do book detection. using OpenCV. And then if we detect a book, put that book in their hands. So that way then we are replicating the real world object to the object in their hands and doing that before we OCR. All right, let's see how this looks now. Okay. See, it's still doing like, if I do, yeah, the hands are fixed. They're broken now. I think I know what that may have to do with. But if I do this, now all of a sudden they disappear. And I get that click function, but I'm not doing anything with that click function. I think that's why. Yeah, I've got no menu. But that's going to be annoying because that's going to mean you're going to be... Here, let's assume someone's holding a book. See now, like, this book should be in front of them, but now I'm going to have these bubbles sitting over top. And that's going to be z-indexed on top of any 3D model I put on top either. So I need to make this go away. See, this will recenter. Okay, that actually works. So I think that setting, even though the docs warned about it, at least for the Quest 3, it seems like it keeps positioning that table where I want it to be. But yeah, I thought... Oh yeah, let me just finish a test real quick. I think we just OCR'd something. I didn't finish wiring it up, I think. I think that's the problem. Yeah, this is a good thing why we test. See, I said I knew it was going to work, which is the first sign that it's definitely not going to work. What's interesting is I connected this up. All right, well, I can at least log something. And then I can do that. Yeah, otherwise it should just work. You know what? This is probably why it's not working. Because I don't have it, it's not initialized correctly. Scanner service should be initialized. So actually, that shouldn't matter, but all the same, let me put this down here at the bottom because it's the last thing, right, that we care about. So that should call switch to VR. And I should get those log statements. And it's not doing it, so okay, we'll figure that out. That's just probably a simple bug. Enable this means hand tracking may use the controller itself and infer where fingers are based. Let me turn that off. Let me just turn off anything that is not gonna directly benefit what I'm doing right now. we've got hand tracking. This is on by default for legacy reasons. Provides access to data that allows you to visualize the user's hands with correct finger positions. Depending on platform capabilities, may be inferred from controller input. Come from data gloves, come from optical hand tracking sensors, or any other applicable sources. Hand tracking unobstructed data source. Enable this means hand tracking may use the exact finger position of fingers, usually what a headset sees. Fine. Let's turn that on, because I do kind of want finger level control. Means hand tracking may use the controller itself. Hand profile, okay. Gaze interaction. Eye tracking through a pose. Yeah, I don't think I have this. And then meta, pass-through. I gotta look at these docs. What is that? Like Godot, XR. So that's project settings. XR tools. And then if we go to export, I'll just skim these, even though it shouldn't matter. Pass through, boundary mode. Okay, yeah, no, I mean, I should be fine. All right, now, okay, I'm gonna close this hand tracking. Hand tracking API. Three components into your scene for each hand. A properly skinned hand mesh. So according to the latest docs, left XR node 3D. See, I'm using XR controller 3D. So we have our origin and our camera. I see I'm doing left hand low L. I cannot remember how I set the... I followed a tutorial when I set this up to just change the model. Like, how do I even change the model? Okay, so this is saying gut that and recreate it. Hand trackers track position. All right, maybe I will do this off camera, just like gut those nodes and probably watch a YouTube video. See if there's like a newer one of somebody setting this up and like wipe this slate clean and reset up the hands vanilla based on how you're supposed to set them up. But really I want to see if I can get that palm tracking specifically to know where the palm, like if the palms are up. Let's see. Handling user input. Yeah, so this is what I care about too. Palm pose, yeah. All right, so I'm gonna leave this here. Let me just quickly look through these. All right, so these are examples. This is a really simple demo that shows how the mobile VR interface can be enabled. OpenXR character-centric movement. Composition layers, hand tracking demo. For or later. This means that when controllers are used, no data is available. School of thought ignores the differences between. Due to the wild growth and capabilities of XR runtimes and there being no solid way to detect the full limitations of the platform you are currently on, does not have support for the hand tracking API and purely relies on its own inferred hand position approach. However, this is from last month. I think this will accompany that video he put out. Bastion. All right, I'll leave this demo up. Probably go through that later. Tutorials and resources. Text tutorials. Fine, I'll leave this up too. What is this? Okay, that's cool. So based on hand symbols. Godot 4.2, so this is a little outdated. Thumbs, phone, pistol, horn, metal cup. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's cool. Last updated a year ago. I may come back and look at that as a reference. This is like the same place I was, right? XR action map. This is where I literally just was. Okay. XR tools. Okay, I'm gonna keep this up. Pass through, I already did all this and it worked. This all works, so I can kill that. Yep. Docs. Sure. What is this? Adding a sword. What is this? Oh, this is that starter. This is the starter tutorial that is a bit old. I'll leave this up. I wonder what they replaced it with, if anything. And I couldn't find in the current code. If I do 3.6, nope. 3.4, 3.3, 3.2. Okay, so they literally moved it after 3.1. Starter tutorial. In theory, they wouldn't have renamed it. So I should be able to do that. Pages to port to take into account API changes for 4.0. With the release of 3.2, the VR starter tutorial is again outdated and needs updating. My schedule is really busy. So did they just do like tutorials then? Here, let's do this. Let's go to stable VR. I guess we had these tutorials and resources, right? Maybe they just got rid of it. I'm not going to waste my time then. I think they eventually just got rid of it. Yeah, whatever. Okay. I'm going to leave this up, but I know it's only a reference, and a lot of the stuff it says here is probably wrong. All right, so where are we at? Where did we get to? I think I'm going to stop now and go get some lunch. Require hand tracking, that got done. Able to toggle pass through, and really it's just hand tracking bugs is the thing I'm working on right now, and then the next thing is going to be book/palm tracking, and then after that, that would be only OCR if book found. Let's do that. And so then that would mean we're not going to waste resources OCRing all the time. We'll wait until we've detected something that strongly seems to hint at there being a book in the scene. And if that book goes away, then again, we go into this sort of stasis mode where we don't waste time trying to OCR anything in the environment. But I really want to try to do is do some book hand tracking. I think that'll be fun, but that'll also be kind of cool if that works. And then that'll be very informative, again, for only OCRing in certain situations. All right, so I think I'll stop there. Task tracker-wise, switch to hands instead of controllers. Start. Okay, so I'm going to merge these two. They'll be done. And then I do still want to try to put out a video this week on YouTube. I meant to do it last week and it just didn't happen. Toggle between... Yeah, actually that should be in progress too. Okay, yeah, so I will chat with you Wednesday, and thank you for anyone who hung out with me. See you later.